The life you desire already exists, but it's being observed by a version of you that you haven't activated yet. This future you isn't a fantasy or a distant possibility. It's a frequency already present in the quantum field, simply waiting for you to tune into it. And that shift doesn't happen through effort or struggle. It begins with one simple adjustment: the way you observe your reality. Everything you desire, love, abundance, purpose, freedom, is already being lived right now, in this exact moment, by a version of you vibrating in alignment with all of it. The question isn't, how do I get there? The real question is, how can I begin seeing the world through the eyes of someone who's already there? Today, you'll take a deep step toward your highest truth. You'll understand that the key isn't creating a new future from scratch, but aligning with the consciousness that's already living it. Because when you change the observer, everything changes. In this video, we'll explore together the power of conscious observation and how to transform your current reality through the lens of your future self. Get ready for a reconnection, not with something outside of you, but with the most awakened, abundant, and magnetic version of who you already are. The future is already created in the quantum field. There's a truth as deep as it is transformative. The future you desire is already created. It doesn't need to be invented or built from scratch. It already exists, in a dimension where time and space are not obstacles, but expressions of frequency. That space is the quantum field, the field of infinite possibilities, where all versions of you exist simultaneously in different vibrational states. At first, this may sound abstract, but modern physics has already shown us that reality is neither fixed nor static. The universe is energy in motion, and everything that exists, including thoughts, emotions, and possible futures, is a combination of vibration and information. The quantum field is exactly that. A vibrational ocean where all potential realities are already available, waiting for a conscious observer to choose one of them. Within that field, there are multiple timelines, multiple versions of your life, multiple expressions of who you are. There is a version of you living in doubt, lack, and stagnation, just as there is a version already fully connected to abundance, freedom, and fulfillment. None of these versions is more real than the other. The only difference lies in the frequency you choose to align with. Your future self, the one living your dream life, is not a fantasy of the mind. It is a real consciousness, vibrating in a parallel reality that is already active in the field. That version of you is there now, observing a world in which you've already won, already awakened, already become. And the most extraordinary part? You can access it not through effort, but through a new state of awareness. What changes isn't the destination, it's the one who is looking at it. You don't need to chase the future. You simply need to become the kind of observer who is already living that future. It's like changing the station on a radio. The signal was always there. You just weren't tuned in. The quantum field responds to the vibration of the observer. It reflects back the reality that you are in a state of observing with full presence. And when you truly grasp this, something unlocks. You realize the path is not linear. The future isn't a straight line you walk step by step. The future is a state of being you can access right now through perception. Consciousness is the bridge. The observer is the creator. So if everything is already created, which version of you is doing the observing right now? The one who doubts or the one who already lives? The one who waits or the one who already is? That's the question that begins to change everything. The current you and the future you observe different realities. There's a silent phenomenon that shapes your life completely, even though it often goes unnoticed. The way you observe the world determines the world you live in. What you call reality is, in truth, the reflection of your consciousness. And this becomes even more powerful when we understand that there are multiple yous within you, each one observing a different reality. Your current self observes what it knows. It looks at the world through past experiences, old stories, memories soaked in doubt and fear. It sees limitations. It recognizes scarcity because it has been conditioned to seek it. It analyzes reality with survival filters, scanning for danger, for proof that things still aren't possible, still aren't safe, still aren't enough. This you lives in constant comparison, hypervigilance, and judgment. When it looks to the future, it projects insecurity. When it looks at the present, it filters it through the past. And as much as it may desire a new life, its observation is still tuned to the frequency of lack. It longs for abundance, but sees with eyes of limitation. It wants connection, but sees separation. It seeks freedom, but focuses on control. Your future self, on the other hand, sees a different world. A world where everything is already happening. A world where it already is. It's not trying, not waiting, not asking for permission. It simply is. Its observation is unclouded by fear or doubt. It sees possibility. It sees doors opening. It sees synchronicities. It sees people as allies, challenges as invitations, and signs as confirmations. The difference between these two yous is not physical. It's not external, it's internal. It's a difference in frequency, in focus, in intention. While one is in constant reaction to what happens, the other is in constant creation based on what it feels. While one clings to the limited logic of the material world, the other flows with the intuitive intelligence of the quantum field. What separates them isn't time, it's consciousness. And here's the most important part. Both are right because both are observing what they are vibrating. The reality you live is the reality you recognize, and you only recognize what resonates with your vibration. If you're constantly observing obstacles, it's because you're aligned with a version of you that has forgotten its power. But the moment you start observing through the eyes of your future self, everything changes. That's why it's not enough to just want a new life. You have to change the perspective of who is doing the looking. You are not a victim of the world you see. You are the observer giving it life. And by changing the observer, you change the world being observed. So ask yourself honestly, which you has been observing your life these past days? The one repeating the old cycle, or the one already living the new? Because both exist, but only one of them can command your reality now. Aligning is seeing through the eyes of your future self. There is a silent, almost imperceptible moment when reality begins to shift. It doesn't happen when something external changes, nor when a desire is fulfilled. True transformation begins the moment you change the way you observe what is in front of you. When instead of reacting through the eyes of your conditioned self, you choose to see through the eyes of your expanded self. That's the turning point. That's when alignment happens. To align isn't simply to think positively. It's not about pretending everything is fine while you still feel the weight of doubt. Alignment is a deep act of awareness. It's the decision to shift the center from where you observe life. It's stepping out of the limited self-perspective and accessing the vision of the fulfilled self. And this isn't distant or mystical. It's a real, accessible practice that begins with a simple question. How would my future self see this situation right now? That question holds extraordinary power. It breaks the automatic identification with old patterns and opens the space for a new consciousness to emerge. Suddenly, you find yourself less reactive, more present, less anxious, more trusting. Because you're bringing into the now the wisdom of a version of you who has already transcended the challenges that feel overwhelming today. And this practice, when done with intention, begins to train your vibration. Life doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you vibrate, and vibration is born from observation. If you spend your day seeing life through the eyes of your past self, reinforcing limitations, lack, and impossibilities, your reality will continue to reflect that field. But if you, not even for brief moments, begin to cultivate the gaze of your future self, you begin to access a new timeline, a new frequency, a new field of possibilities. Observing with the eyes of your future doesn't mean ignoring the present. It means looking at the present as someone who is already living the future. It means moving through the same events with a new vibration, a new internal posture. It's like living the same scene, but through a different lens, with a different internal narrative. It's you who changes, and when you change, the world responds. This practice requires presence. It calls for silence, attention, and breath. It invites you to step out of autopilot and remember, I can choose how I'm observing right now. And that choice changes everything. Because the universe responds to the conscious observer. It recognizes the authentic vibration of someone already aligned with their truth. It understands when you stop begging for change and start embodying it. When you begin to observe through the eyes of your future self, something starts to dissolve within. Urgency fades. Anxiety loses strength. Fear quiets down. Because now a higher presence is guiding your experience. A part of you that isn't trying to survive, but creating. And the more you practice this state, the more natural it becomes, until the moment you realize that future self is no longer in the future. It's here, now seeing with you, being you. And that's the moment reality begins to bend. Not because the world changed on its own, but because you started seeing it with new eyes. How to embody the observational state of your fulfilled self. Embodying the state of your fulfilled self is more than imagining an ideal version of yourself. It's a vibrational practice, a daily choice of consciousness. It's when you stop living as a character limited by memories and past stories and begin living from the field where your highest truth is already unfolding. The difference between imagining and embodying lies in frequency. To imagine is to see from a distance. To embody is to bring it inside, to feel it, to live it now. The starting point is creating a moment of presence. Quiet the noise of the external world and make space to connect with the version of you who is already living everything you desire. That version isn't just a mental projection, it is real within the quantum field. It is a specific vibrational pattern, accessible at any moment when you choose to tune in. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Picture yourself living a reality where everything has already worked out. You are at peace. You are safe. You are exactly where you always wanted to be. Let yourself observe the environment around you, the colors, the sensations, the energy of that space. How do you walk? How do you speak? How do you breathe when there's nothing left to fix? When you've already arrived, observe the world from that state. Notice the gaze. Notice the feeling. This is not fantasy, it's vibrational access. This kind of visualization isn't about escape. It's a spiritual and energetic technology. The more you visit this inner place, the more familiar it becomes. And over time, your vibration begins to mold itself to what you've accessed. You begin to think, act, decide, feel, and respond like the version of you who has already made it. And when that happens, the field around you responds. Embodying the state of your fulfilled self also means bringing that vibration into everyday moments. It's not just about major decisions. It's in the small things. When you face a challenge, ask yourself, how does my fulfilled self respond to this? When something doesn't go as expected, pause and ask, how would they position themselves right now? How would they choose to feel? And most importantly, how would they choose to move forward? This ongoing exercise of realignment isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about remembering, even in the chaos, the truth you've already touched in your clearest moments. It's returning again and again to the state of your expanded self. And each return strengthens the connection. Each return dissolves another layer of the old self, until you no longer need to visit that state because it has become your vibrational home. Life begins to reorganize around this new coherence. Your words shift, your thoughts become clearer, your relationships transform, your body relaxes, your intuition sharpens, and slowly what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. Because now a new observer is leading your experience, an observer who no longer waits to become, because they already are. Don't wait to become. Observe as if you already are. Live as if you already are. Feel as if you already are. Because in the quantum realm, you already are. and all the universe needs to reorganize reality around you is for you to sustain that state long enough for the new to become inevitable. The quantum field responds to the observer who vibrates the future in the now. There is a living intelligence permeating everything, an invisible field that connects all things, where time isn't linear and space isn't a barrier. This is the quantum field, a space of pure potentiality where the future is not something distant, but a vibrational state accessible at any moment. And what activates this field isn't physical effort or linear logic. It's the coherent vibration of the observer. When you vibrate the future in the now, the quantum field responds, not as a reward, but as a natural consequence of energetic alignment. The universe doesn't deliver what you ask with words. It delivers what you sustain in frequency. If you vibrate lack while affirming abundance, the field feels the incoherence and returns what is strongest, the lack. But when you begin to live, feel, and observe from your realized state, the field rearranges reality to match that new vibration. This process is subtle, yet incredibly precise. Small synchronicities start to appear. People show up at the right time. Opportunities you couldn't see before begin to reveal themselves. Situations that once felt blocked start to open effortlessly. And it's not because something magical happened out there. It's because the observer shifted within. The external world is a mirror of the vibration you hold in the silence of your consciousness. When you access and sustain the state of someone who has already arrived, even for moments, you create a new energetic signature. That signature acts like a code the field recognizes. And when the field detects that frequency as dominant, it responds in the form of reality. There's no resistance. There's no delay. Time simply bends to deliver what you're already living within. That's why vibration can't just be an occasional exercise. It must become your point of origin, a consistent practice of conscious observation, to be present with yourself, your body, your emotions, and ask, what am I vibrating right now? What am I truly observing? And most importantly, what would my future self choose to feel in this moment? When this practice becomes natural, something profound begins to happen. You don't just manifest things, you manifest a new version of yourself. A version that's more connected, more lucid, more whole. The field responds not just with external events, but with inner states. Peace, clarity, purpose, love. These become your baseline, not your distant goal. The quantum field is always listening, not to what you say with your mouth, but to what you radiate with your being. It responds to vibrational authenticity, the coherence between intention, emotion, and action. When every part of you says, I already am, the world around you starts to say, then here it is. Not as a reward, but as a reflection. You don't need to convince the universe. You only need to remember who you are while you observe, because that who shapes the how, the when, and the what of your experience. Reality isn't a destination you run toward. It's a frequency you activate with presence. The future isn't far. It's already within you, and the quantum field is ready to respond the moment you vibrate that future with truth, in the now. The old observer will try to return. How to quiet it? Every time you access a new state of consciousness, something within you expands. You begin to perceive life differently. Possibilities open up. A sense of clarity rises. But along with this expansion, almost inevitably comes a subtle, persistent force, one that tries to pull you back into an old version of yourself. This is the return of the old observer. The old observer is your conditioned self, the one who learned to survive instead of create. It was shaped by past experiences, traumas, frustrations, inherited limitations, and unconscious beliefs. It sees the world with suspicion. It needs proof before believing. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. And as you begin to shift your vibration, this observer feels threatened. Not because it's bad, but because it's familiar. It represents safety to a part of your mind that fears the unknown. So when you begin sustaining a new, higher frequency, It shows up as doubt, fear, self-sabotage, procrastination, resistance. Suddenly you feel tired without reason, discouraged without cause, disconnected without explanation. It seems like nothing's working, but in truth, it's just the old observer trying to regain control. The key isn't to fight it, but to recognize it, to bring awareness, to look at that internal voice with presence and ask, who's observing right now? Because when you ask this sincerely, you interrupt autopilot. You disidentify from that frequency and reclaim the power to choose. You break the trance of the old pattern and return to the seat of the creator. The old observer doesn't vanish overnight. It was fed for years, maybe decades, but it loses strength every time you choose not to respond from it. Every time you breathe, pause, and choose to feel through the eyes of your future self, you interrupt the cycle. And little by little, what once was an automatic reflex becomes an opportunity for expansion. It's important to understand, these moments of relapse don't mean you're failing. On the contrary, they're signs that real transformation is happening. Like the discomfort of muscles waking up after long dormancy. The old mind will resist, but the more you observe life through your new lens, the more natural that vibration becomes. Until the old observer can no longer hold its influence. When you feel your vibration drop, when negative thoughts or heavy emotions rise, don't judge yourself. Just stop. Bring in presence. Gently ask, is this the version of me I want to sustain? Breathe. Return to your center. Remember the feeling of your fulfilled self. It's available now, and the more you access it, the stronger it gets. You don't need to eliminate the old self. You just need to stop feeding it. And that happens through simple, conscious choices. Choosing the new perspective, choosing the new feeling, choosing the vibration that already matches your future. Because the reality you live isn't defined by the past that shaped you, but by the observer you choose to be now. We've come to the end of our journey, but in truth, this is only the beginning. The beginning of a new way of observing life, of seeing yourself, of vibrating the reality you want to live. Today you access something powerful, the awareness that the future you seek doesn't need to be chased. It needs to be remembered, felt, embodied. Your future self is already observing everything you dream of. And the more you align with that perspective, the more the world around you begins to respond. Not because the universe is changing, but because you are. So here's your challenge. For the next 24 hours, practice observing your life as your future self. Feel, speak, and act as if you've already arrived. Stay in that state, even for just minutes, and watch what begins to shift. Reality transforms the moment you stop observing as someone who waits and start observing as someone who already is.